So your inventory is not selling and you don't know why. In today's video, I'm going to help you figure it out. In case you're new here, hi, I'm Andi. I'm a vintage home decor reseller. I sell online and in booth spaces, and I create content that helps resellers like you understand and grow your businesses. We all have moments as resellers where our inventory is just sitting, whether we're not making sales online or we're not making sales in our booth. It's just something that can sometimes happen. Now, many people will immediately think that pricing is the problem, but there's actually a lot of reasons why things may not sell. So we're going to talk about all of the most common reasons why your inventory is just sitting, but we're definitely going to kick off with pricing, address that right away, and then get into the more nuanced reasons why your inventory is just sitting. So there's two ways you can figure out whether or not you have a pricing issue. So if you're a seller online and you go into your analytics and you look at your listings, and there are several that are getting a lot of visibility, but no one is adding them to their carts and they're not being purchased, well, then you probably have a pricing issue. So before you lower that price, consider maybe raising the price first, because sometimes a lower price can actually signal to the buyer that there's something wrong with it. Because usually when we're out shopping, we have a general idea of what we think that item is worth. And when it's priced lower than that, it doesn't always signal to that person that they're getting a bargain. It can signal to the person that there's something wrong with it, don't buy it. Actually buy this one, it's a little more expensive because that one must be somehow in better condition. So there are many reasons why people will respond to pricing in different ways. So I recommend try raising it first, because you can always lower it later. Now in an antique booth setting, if you have an item that gets a lot of attention because it ends up in different spots around your booth, so you know people are picking it up, looking at it, and considering it. Or someone who works at the mall is always telling you, oh yeah, people are very interested in that piece, but they never seem to want to purchase it, then you probably have a pricing issue with that item. So before you adjust the pricing on that item, I would recommend kind of doing a lap around the mall and see if anyone else is selling something similar and check their pricing, because sometimes that can be a good indicator of whether or not you're pricing appropriately for the space or the mall. Now, I know pricing can be a little tricky because it's dependent on our margins, how much we bought it for, what our booth rent is, what the fees are online, how much it will cost to ship. But I find that there are a lot of sellers out there that like to shoot for the stars, and then they wonder why the item isn't selling. So I think making sure that you're looking online and doing comps before you price it, or looking at the antique mall that you're in at other vendors that are selling it and what they're selling it for, that can really help you get your pricing strategy in line with what the market wants. So the next reason why your inventory is not selling is because you're not marketing your business. Now, a lot of people think that reselling is a list it and forget it, or put it in your booth and forget it type of business. Like once you list it online and you put it in the mall, then the mall and Etsy or eBay are responsible for selling those items. But most dealers, they have a high sell-through rate that are actually making good, meaningful income, as resellers are usually doing a lot of marketing for their business. So the reason why I personally have a high sell-through rate is because I am marketing my business all the time. I have my YouTube videos, I show up on Instagram all the time. I'm constantly in a marketing mindset. Now that comes naturally to me because I am a marketing professional. That's what I did for 20 years. But anytime I take a break from videos or I take a break from posting on social media, I definitely see a difference in my sell-through rate. And that just shows you that when you're actively showing up and marketing your business, it will definitely result in more sales. Now, if you struggle with marketing as a vintage reseller, you're not alone. It can be hard to kind of develop that mindset if you don't have that professional background. I actually recorded a few YouTube videos about marketing your business, whether you sell online or in a vintage booth. So I'm gonna link those videos down below. I also created an online social media course specifically for vintage resellers. So if you want to start marketing your business on social media like Instagram or YouTube, and you just don't know where to start, or you've been online for a while and you just are not getting any traction, well, that is something I can help you with. So I will pop some information on the screen about the course and also link it down below. So the next reason why your items aren't selling is because you may be selling it on the wrong platform or in the wrong space. So let's tackle the online selling scenario first. So all of the online platforms, whether it's Etsy or eBay or Poshmark or Mercari or wherever you're deciding to list your items, they all kind of sell certain things better than others. And sometimes it can be hard to know where you should list your pieces. So if you have items on Etsy that are just not selling, I usually will recommend to people try listing them on eBay or another platform, and vice versa. If you have stuff on eBay that's just not selling, try listing it on Etsy or another platform, because sometimes changing platforms is all you need to sell your pieces. So in an antique mall, this location issue plays out in two ways. One is you're in an antique mall that's highly themed. Let's say it's known for being very country or very mid-century or very old world, and your pieces are different than what most of the items are in that mall. And so that means the shoppers that are coming in expecting a certain theme, and your pieces are outside that theme. And so those shoppers may not be your customers. So if you're in one of those settings, you need to either tailor your inventory for the customers that are coming in, or you need to find another mall where they're getting more variety in their shoppers. And the other scenario is somewhat of a pricing issue at the same time. It's where you have pieces that are priced at a certain level and the customers that are coming into the mall aren't able or willing to pay those prices. So you either need to sell those pieces online or find a different mall that attracts a higher end customer. Now, if you're a vintage seller who only has one booth or is only selling on one platform and you want to add a second booth and a second selling platform, just make sure when you get to that point that you're either cross-listing your inventory between platforms or you're actually rotating your inventory between your antique mall spaces. Like you're actually taking the inventory out of one and putting it into another, and then vice versa. Having your inventory rotating around or available on multiple platforms at the same time definitely will increase your sell-through rate. So the next reason your items might not be selling is because you have a presentation issue. Now, this is something that comes up in my one-on-one calls all the time. I get a lot of people that sign up for a call with me so that way I can do an audit of their Etsy shop or their online shops. And the first thing I usually notice is that their photographs for the items that they're selling are just not quite up to the standard that the buyer wants. They're either poorly lit, or the items aren't centered in the square, or there's just no consistency, like visual consistency in their listing photos. So it looks like every item has been photographed in all different locations in their home by several different people. There's like no branded consistency in their visuals. And those types of things actually can make a difference on whether or not someone wants to buy the item. So usually what happens as soon as someone identifies the issue, whether it's the lighting or the composition or the styling of their photos, they make the correction and things start to sell a little bit better because they look better in search results and they look better in their listings. Now in a booth space, it could mean that your booth is too cluttered, or you don't have a clear path to get around, or the items in your booth don't really go together and it's just too chaotic or too disjointed and there's no common theme or design to your space. Now merchandising is something that I struggle with. I feel like I'm a person who can decorate fine, but merchandising is a totally different skill than just simply decorating and making something look nice on a shelf. It's a whole another level of expertise because it requires a lot of layering, and that is something that I personally struggle with too. So this is why I follow a lot of vintage resellers on social media, and I watch a lot of YouTube videos of people that are very good at merchandising, because when I watch them, that gives me ideas for what to do in my own spaces. So if you're not watching and following a lot of resellers, you really need to be doing that because it can really help you merchandise your space. The other reason why your pieces may not be selling is it's just simply the wrong season. And I don't mean season as in you're trying to sell Christmas in July. I mean, it might not be the right season in retail for it. So retail has its ups and downs. And I think a lot of people forget that retail ups and downs are pretty predictable, and usually what is happening online and in your vintage booth can follow those predictable retail patterns. So this is why having a marketing strategy can really help you get through those moments. So if you know that you're in kind of a retail slump and that there's not a lot of foot traffic in your mall, and then there's not a lot of traffic and buyers online, this is where you need to kind of ramp up the marketing to get your pieces in front of people to spontaneously inspire them to purchase, because they may not be planning to go to the mall. They may not be planning to do any shopping online, but they see your piece and then that moves them to buy. So anytime you're in these kind of seasonal lulls, you want to make sure that you're ramping up your marketing. And the final reason why your inventory isn't selling is a bit more personal, and that is because you're sourcing the wrong pieces to sell. So one of the worst pieces of advice that I got as a reseller when I was first starting out was just simply to sell what I like, what I'm personally interested in. And the reason why I think that's bad advice is because what I'm interested in and what you're interested in may not be what people want to buy. And this happens a lot, that people go out sourcing and they're picking up things that appeal personally to them without even thinking about whether there's a market for that item. Figuring out the right product mix can be very tricky. I know when I was first starting out, I would look to other resellers as a guide. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I followed a ton of people on social media. Anytime I went into an antique mall and there were dealers there, I'd ask them, like, what is selling for you? What is not selling for you? And all those data points really helped me hone in on what was sellable inventory. Now, if you feel like you've been picking up the wrong pieces, you're not alone. We all pick up the wrong pieces on occasion. I actually filmed a YouTube video that talks about what to do with unsold inventory. And usually that unsold inventory are pieces that you picked up that you probably shouldn't have bought in the first place. So you're not alone. But if this does happen to you, maybe think about pivoting into a new category and maybe ask some of your reselling friends or people in the mall, or you can have a one-on-one with me and we can go through your product mix and help guide you on what you could be doing differently. And some of this stuff you could just figure it out on your own by watching YouTubers, following people on social media, and asking people in your mall what is selling for them, like I mentioned before. So there are definitely ways that you can figure out this product mix issue, but usually requires some due diligence on your part. Okay, so those are the 6 most common reasons why your vintage pieces aren't selling. But now I wanna hear from you guys. Many of you have been selling vintage for decades, way longer than me. And I know that you've experienced one or more of these scenarios probably in your reselling career. So if you have any advice and guidance on how to solve for these scenarios, then please let us know down in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning more about my social media course for vintage resellers, or you wanna book a one-on-one coaching call with me, all the links are down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in my next thrifting and decorating video. Take care.